Hello, everyone, and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. So I'm back for another Have Your Say video.
Please stop immediately.
And this video is for RuPaul's Drag Race UK Season 7, Episode 3. So today we're going to be recapping this week's episode, going through the result of the Have Your Say poll, and I'll be talking about a little bit of recent drama to do with Michelle Visage, who may have potentially confirmed a Drag Race rumour, and Viola speaks out about why she wasn't allowed to talk about the reference for her runway look. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. Okay, so let's start by recapping this week's episode. Going straight into the main part of the episode, we find out the main challenge for this week is the Girl Group Challenge. And the queens split into two groups, and they have to write their own lyrics to a song called She Ate That. Obviously, as we saw, there was a little bit of the generic tension between the two groups, each group thinking they're better than the other. In particular, they were definitely trying to push this storyline of Page 3 being, I guess, the main choreographer of her group, and then Bones being the main choreographer in the other group. And they were trying to push this storyline of Page 3 and versus Bones, like, and kind of being a bit salty about it. And they continued that throughout the episode, but I don't know whether I actually believed that or whether that was just for TV. But anyway, it gives us a little bit of drama, which we all love.
Drama!
So I'm going to go into the actual performances themselves for the Girl Group Challenge. I will just say from the start, though, maybe I just sound like a broken record at this point, but I didn't really like this particular song, unfortunately. I really usually like the UK songs. I think it's actually a good track record. We've had some really good ones like Break Up Bye Bye, UK Hun, even the one last season, which was that kind of Dead or Alive one. That was also really good, but this particular song I just thought was really bad. It sounded really cheap and just did not catch my attention at all. So I did kind of feel sorry for the queens because I think all of them had a harder challenge because the song itself was just a bit rubbish. But anyway, we'll go through them in order in which they appeared. The first group up was the Fallen Angels. And the first queen to perform from that group was Bonnie and Clyde. I enjoyed Bonnie's. I thought she had some decent lyrics. It was kind of fun. I thought the outfit was nice. She seemed to be doing the moves decently well enough, I thought. So I would give it maybe a just okay towards the yay side because it didn't stand out in that group, but it certainly wasn't bad. In the Have Your Say poll, it seems like you agree because you said 69.2%. 69, I'm not going to make any jokes because I am a very mature person.
Lies. Baby. Lies. Baby. Lies.
But then nay was actually the second most with 16.6, but then yay got 14.2. After that, we had Nyan Bella. I was a little bit kind of conflicted about this one. I don't think it was as bad as what the judges said, and we'll get onto this later, but I'm not sure she was quite bottom two. I think there were other people that were more deserving of it. I did notice that she was not doing the choreography quite as much as some of the other people in the background. I don't know whether they were zooming in on her deliberately because they were trying to feed into this storyline of the episode. I thought her lyrics were nice enough. The bit where she was like, duh, I'm plastic. I thought maybe there was a bit too long of a gap. And like, the bit about I'm plastic kind of got lost in the actual performance for me. I think it needed to be less of a gap. Other than that, she seemed sweet though. And I think she was probably on the likability scale, she was quite high up there. But I still think I would give it a just okay, but more towards the nay side. Interestingly, you obviously didn't agree with me because you said 45.5% for yay, which was the majority. I don't know if also maybe it's because a lot of people felt like Nyan Bella was it was rigged against her this week in that way. So I can maybe understand from that point of view. Just okay got 37%, which is where I would have placed it, and then 17.5 for nay. After that, we had Tyrus Mongardi. I think Tyrus was definitely one of the strongest in this group. I thought she had definitely the attitude down. She looked great on stage. She looked very confident. The way she delivered her lines and the actual lyrics were really good. She had very clear diction, and she's not even Select's diction. And I just thought in general, she just came across really fierce. She definitely looked like she'd done this a million times before. I felt very safe watching that performance because you could tell she's a safe pair of hands or legs. And yeah, definitely in general, I would give this a yay. And it looks like you agreed, maybe not quite as much as I thought you would have. You said 63.5% for yay, but still 31.3% for just okay, which is not that far off a third. I was surprised. I definitely thought she was way more in the yay category. And then 5.5 for nay. nay. Then we had page 3. I do think page 3 was probably the best in this group, and she did obviously take on the role as being the choreographer mainly. So I think she definitely had a lot to prove as well, because she was saying this is her thing. There was the whole thing with Bones, as well, the rivalry. So I do think that page 3 did live up to it though. She was really good. Her lyrics were great. She definitely had all the moves down. She looked very confident. She had the attitude. I really enjoyed watching her. So it was definitely a yay for me. And it seemed like you liked her the most because 90% of you said yay. So again, you do not have to be Katya in a maths class to understand that one.
I didn't go to school for math.
Just Okay then got 8.5, with Nay only getting 1.4%. After that, we had Viola. I personally didn't mind Viola's as much. I don't think it was the best, but it wasn't the worst. Can you guess what cutaway I'm going to use?
I ain't saying I'm the best, but I ain't the worst.
But to me, Viola did stand out because she sung, which was probably one of the only ones that did actually sing. And she's got a very good voice. She was on Queen of the Universe before, which is a drag singing competition that Trixie Mattel was one of the judges on. And so was Michelle Visage, thinking about it. So she was definitely using, what she's got to her advantage. I don't think she necessarily had the most stage presence out of everyone. So I think she wasn't actually that bad, so I probably would have put her in the just okay category. But that's just my opinion from someone who has a PhD in girl groupage.
You're a liar.
But you voted 49.3% for just okay, which was the majority, but then 36.5% for nay. So I guess it was more that you thought it was a kind of meh towards not very good, I suppose. And then 14.2% said yay. And then finally in this group, we had Katrin Feelings. I do really like Katrin, and she's definitely giving me like the comedy thing, and that was very much what her verse was about. I don't think it was the best verse, though. I think I was expecting maybe a bit more from her. She was fine. I think she did keep up decently well with the moves, but she certainly wasn't amazing. I think I would give her probably a just okay. And it looks like you agreed because 63.5 of you voted for just okay, which was the majority by far. And then between yay and nay, it was very close. So nay did have a little bit more with 19%, and then yay had 17.5%. So moving on to the second group, which was Hotline X. So the first queen up in this group is Sally TM. I thought that Sally might do decently well in this challenge, but I was a little bit disappointed. I guess we knew that she wasn't going to be the best dancer, and I think that is ultimately what let her down. I thought her lyrics were decent, but I don't know, there was just something about the performance it didn't quite connect for me. I think the dancing definitely... I liked the bit where she was up on the podium and she kind of was copying what Bones had just done, but obviously the point was she was doing it not as well, and RuPaul laughed, but I feel like they could have really hammed that up and made it more funny than it was. So overall, it kind of was a bit lackluster to me, and I do wonder if she should have been in the bottom. So I probably would have to give it a just okay, but towards the nay side. And it looks like you were actually a little bit harsher than me because you voted majority, 43.6% was for nay. Not that far behind was just okay with 42.2%. So it was very close between nay and just okay. And then yay only got 14.2%. After that, we had Bones. I think Bones was probably one of the best of the night, regardless of the group. We knew that going in because that is literally her thing. She does this all the time. She went in with a lot of confidence. I loved Bones. I thought she came across very confident. She'd done a really good job with the group choreography. I thought she had really good lyrics. She looked very comfortable on stage. So for me, it was definitely a yay. And it looks like you agreed, although maybe not quite as much as I thought you might agree, because you said 87.7% for yay, which is obviously the majority, but that's not as much as page 3 got because she got 90%. But Bones then got 10% for just okay and 2.4 for nay. After that, we had Select's Addiction. I thought Select's was okay. Her lyrics were kind of interesting. Obviously, her lyrics were also to do with the outfit, so I assume that was part of it. Also, I will just say, this reminds me, a lot of the queens had in their lyrics to things like she ate the plate, she licked it clean, left no crumbs. And I guess it's because obviously the song is She Ate That, but I was a little bit bored after a while that all of the verses sounded so similar because they all said the same thing. But anyway, I thought Selexa was okay. She was kind of middle of the road for me, so I would give her a just okay. And it looks like you agreed because 50.2% voted for just okay, so over half, 32.2% for yay, and then 16.6% for nay. Then penultimately, we had Elle Vosk. I thought Elle was like cute and fun and her lyrics were kind of fun. I don't think she quite had the full attitude that some of the others did. So I think in the group, she was maybe towards the okay top end, but she didn't stand out as much as some of the others. So I think I would give her a just okay, but more towards the yay side of just okay. And you voted 59.2% for just okay. So again, well over half. 30.3% for yay. So I agree that that would have been the next one down. It was just okay towards yay. And then nay got 10.4%. And then finally, we had Chai Tea Grande. I really liked Chai Tea's. I thought the judges were kind of harsh on her. I'm not sure she should have been in the bottom three. What I will say is, although her lyrics were very cleverly written, I really liked a lot of the references. My only slight thing I can think of is I did have to listen to her verse twice to really get it all because it was just so quick. Maybe it's just me being a granny, being like, what was that, dear? I can't hear you.
Baby.
Maybe it's just that, but I did struggle because it was just so quick. But what she did say was very interesting, and I thought she came alive during the performance, like the judges said, but then she did fade into the background afterwards. But I still would give her probably a yay, but a yay merging into just okay. And interestingly, I guess you broadly agreed because you said 65.9% for yay, so again, well over half, but then just okay got 28.4, which is over a quarter, and then nay only got 5.7. So then I asked you for question 2, between the two girl groups, which was the best one overall? And it was pretty split, but Hotline X, which was Sally TM's group, did come out on top with 56.5%, and then Fallen Angels came in second out of 2 with 43.5%. Okay, so moving on to the runway for this week, and the category was Cuddly-Wuddly, and I'll go in order in which the queens appeared. So first up, we had Bonnie and Clyde. I really liked this. I thought it was a very interesting silhouette. It definitely met the brief of being cuddly-wuddly and monochromatic, always good, and I think it was really good overall, so I would give this a yay. Interestingly, you gave this a just okay with 52.1%, which I was a little bit surprised about, but then yay did get a decent amount with 40.8, and then nay got 7.1. After that, we had Catherine Feelings. I really enjoyed this because I definitely got the reference of it being Cats, as in Cats the musical, not that like weird movie version they did with the weird CGI cats. I personally quite enjoyed that, and I guess Cats, cuddly, it does make sense, and I think she executed it decently well. It wasn't the most extravagant look, but it certainly was good, so I would give it a yay, but maybe a yay more towards the just okay side. Surprisingly, you did not agree with this because you actually voted majority for nay, so you did not like this, and that's certainly not how I would have put it, and it was 44.1% for nay. Just okay then got 41.7, and yay only got 14.2. After that, we had page 3. Again, I really enjoyed this concept, maybe more than the judges did, because it went cuddly and she was in a blanket with a sleeping bag and the eye mask. To me, I really got the reference and I really enjoyed what she was doing. Again, it wasn't maybe the most spectacular that we've ever seen, but it certainly was good. So I would give this a yay. But again, it looks like you don't agree with me, so maybe you all just don't agree with my PhDs in fashion.
That is correct.
But you said 48.3% for just okay. Then yay did get 45%, so pretty much almost split between the two. And then nay got 6.6%. After that, we had Nye on Bella. Unfortunately, I don't think I really liked this outfit. I liked when she first walked out, and I wish she had just had that as a normal dress because it was actually quite a nice look, and it was obviously a little bit Cats inspired, not the musical, just actual Cats, I assume. But to me, the bit where she revealed it and then she kind of came out and it was just a bra and panties, it was just a little bit simple. I think if you're going to reveal to something, it has to be a kind of spectacular reveal that's worth it, and I don't think it was, because the downside was because it was a reveal, the first outfit as they showed was kind of puckering and it didn't quite look finished, or it just didn't quite look as good as it could have done. So yeah, I just think unfortunately I probably would have to give this a nay, maybe a just okay. And it looks like maybe you agreed because you said 44.5% for nay, 39.3% for just okay, and then yay got 16.1. After that, we had Viola. Now, I will talk about this later on because there is like a little bit of interesting tea about this outfit. I'm sure this is a reference to something. Again, we'll discuss that later. I personally didn't get the reference. I do think I got, though, that it was supposed to be this kind of stuffed toy, Cuddly-Wuddly, teddy bear, animatronic. I did get that with the springs and the bones and stuff. I kind of got that was sort of what it's supposed to be. I do sort of agree with the judges that it was very much, it was verging into costumey. Not that costumey has to be bad, but I don't know. It was cool and it is very well made, but it maybe just, there was something about it that maybe wasn't quite as elevated as it could have been. But it certainly was an interesting look, but I think I would have to give it a just okay, maybe even a nay. However, you were a lot more harsh than I was because you said 60.7% for nay, 26.5% for just okay, and then yay only got 12.8%. After that, we had Teiris Mongardi. Unfortunately, this was not my favorite look. I think it was just very simple, and I think the top half was a bit too bulky and then the bottom half wasn't enough, so it was kind of giving her these slightly odd proportions. And it's a shame because I really liked Teiris in the challenge and I think she could have been a contender for the winner, but I do think this outfit was a bit of a downer compared to that, unfortunately. She sold it well, but the outfit itself to me was a nay, unfortunately. And interestingly, you were quite split between this, so it was between just okay at 46% and then nay at 44.5%, so probably where I would have put it, and then yay only got 9.5%. After that, we had Elle Vosk. I really enjoyed this outfit. I loved the sort of the big poodle-like hair, the big kind of puffy thing that she's holding, which I'm sure has a name that I can't think of right now.
The level of unprofessionalism, far too much.
But all of the proportions were right. It was a really cute concept. The color palette worked really well. She sold it really well. It fit the theme very well. So yeah, this was definitely a yay. And it looks like you agreed because 72%, so almost 3/4 said yay, 24.2% for just okay. So, don't know, I don't agree with that personally. I think it was a yay. And then 3.8% for nay. After that, we had Sally TM. I will admit that when she first came out, a bit like the judges, I also thought that this might be a monkey or something. I did not get what it was supposed to be. I think after a while, I kind of got it when she explained it, but it's a very unusual look. I guess that is very much Sally's style. It's okay. I think it looks well made and it's very clean, but there's just something about it that I find slightly disturbing. I don't know what it is. There's just something about it that didn't quite connect for me, but it wasn't bad. So I probably would give it a just okay, but it wasn't quite at the level I thought it was going to be, given that Sally has given us really amazing looks so far. And it looks like you were very split on this because it was actually almost a third split across all of them. But technically, Just Okay did come out on top with 38.4%. Then it was Nay with 35%. So you were obviously more on the Just Okay Nay side. But then Yay still got a decent proportion with 26.5%. So it looks like you all couldn't make your mind up. After that, we had Bones. I had no idea what I was looking at with this. And like they said, it was actually kind of creepy. But I think the difference was that she managed, because of the ruffles and the color and the way that she did it, it still gave a really interesting silhouette, but it would just still looked very fashion because it's very, very editorial. I could see that going down like some kind of weird runway. So I definitely think that this was a yay because it was creepy and weird and it fit the theme, but it seemed a bit more elevated than some of the other weirder runways. You voted in the Have Your Say poll, 66.8% for yay, so it seems like you also really liked this, but then 19.9% for just okay, and then 13.3% for nay. Penultimately, we had Chai Tea Grande. I really enjoyed this outfit. First of all, I loved the little shimmy that she was doing because she couldn't walk very well. I thought she actually did it really well because the rhythm that she was doing it at looked like it was deliberate. So it didn't look like, oh, I'm just in a tight outfit that I can't walk in. She made that part of the presentation, which I really enjoyed. The color was amazing. It fit the theme so well. It looked very snuggly and cuddly. No, wait, what's the right? Cuddly-Wuddly, whatever. It just looked like you wanted to give it a big old hug. So I definitely would give this a yay. And it looks like you agreed because you said 85.3% for yay, which I would agree with. This was potentially my favorite outfit of all of them. 10.4% for just okay. And then a weird 4.3% of you voted for nay. And then finally, we had Select's Addiction. I thought this was a cool concept and it was definitely giving me vibes of, do you remember when Jimbo did that look where she kind of walked backwards and made it look like she was walking forward and then turned around? I do think this was similar to that, but maybe not quite done as well as what Jimbo did. But I liked the concept of it. I don't think it was immediately obvious without her explanation what it was, but it did look good and I liked that she was doing something different. But I probably would give it a yay, but it was only just a yay, and it was maybe going towards the just okay side for me. And again, it looks like maybe you agreed with me because I'm always right.
That's false, America.
Because you said 56.4% for yay, 37% for just okay, still a decent proportion, and then nay got 6.6%. Okay, so moving on, and we find out that the winner for this week is Bones. I asked you in the Have Your Say poll, do you agree with the winner this week? And 66.4% of you voted for yes, with 33.6% voting no, so over a third. Of that third of you that did say no, you don't agree, I said, who do you think should have won instead? And you said, perhaps unsurprisingly, 52.1% for Page 3. Chaiti Grande came in next with 23.9%, with Tyrus Mongardi third with 12.7%. And I would agree that Bones was definitely my favourite performance, so I do agree that she should have won, but if it wasn't Bones, I do think it would have been Page 3, but I do think that Bones deserved the win. So then moving on to the flip side, which is the bottom two, and we find out that is Nyan, Bella, and Viola. I asked you in the Have Your Say poll, do you agree with the bottom two? And 64.5% of you voted for no. So the majority of you did not agree. And then 35.5% of you voted for yes. So for that majority of you that did vote no, I said, who do you think should have been the bottom two? And I made you pick two names. And the person that interestingly came out on top was Sally TM with 54.4%. And then Viola was second with 44.1%. And then Catherine Feelings was third with 27.2%. So it looks like you thought that Sally should have been in the bottom instead of Nyan Bella. So Viola and Nyan Bella then lip synced to the song Sound of the Underground by Girls Aloud, obviously because the guest judge this week was Nadine Coyle. And we find out that Nyan Bella won the lip sync, therefore she's safe, and that means that unfortunately Viola is told to sashay away. I asked you in the Have Your Say poll, who do you think won the lip sync? And you voted 78.7% for Nyan Bella, with Viola getting 21.3%. And I will agree, I do think also the outfit hindered Viola a little bit because it didn't quite match the song, but I do think that Nyan Bella was just doing maybe a little bit better with the vibe of the song. And finally, for question 7, I asked, which queen do you think will win the season? And Bones came out on top with 51.7%. Then it was Page 3 with 23.7%. And then third was Elle Vosk with 10.9%. But then on a similar note, I said for question 8, which queen do you want to win the season? Again, Bones came out on top with 29.4%, but obviously that's quite a bit less than what it was before. Then it was Page 3 with 18.5%, and then Sally TM was third with 18%. So again, it looks like you think that Bones will win and you want her to win, but it is interesting that more people think she will win rather than people who want her to win. And it seems that Page 3 also comes out second on both of these questions. And interestingly, it looks like Sally got a lot of votes in the who do you want to win the season, but then she didn't get many votes for who you think will win the season. Also, before any of you say, I am not going through and color coding so that each queen is the same color in both of these graphs. This is just automatically decided when I downloaded the graphs, and I ain't gonna do that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
So I'm afraid you're just gonna have to take what I give you and you're gonna have to like it.
Mother has arrived.
Okay, so let's move on to the comments for this week. Starting with my Patreon comments. My Patreon Patty said, loved Bones' performance outfit. Absolutely loved the runways of Elle and Chaiti Grande. Viola's outfit, I thought she is going to cartoon convention, didn't like it at all. My other Patreon member, Hermit Queen Jude, said, think the cast is great. Bonnie reminds me so much of Acacia Forgot, which I talked about in a previous video, and Catherine is Lawrence Chaney. I don't know if I actually said this, but definitely, she's giving me like the Welsh version of Lawrence Chaney, so I 100% agree with that. And going back to the runway, this was quite a big talking point in it because my Patreon Debs said the runway was a weird one. It felt like very few queens actually met the brief. What a shame Tayrus's runway wasn't the best because she was incredible in the challenge. I wish they would give the girls a stipend for runways ahead of time. And my Patreon Jessica also mentioned the runways but had an interesting take on it, which was, I agree with the runway being unusual. I wonder if it was a case of where they were given one prompt and then the category was changed. And in terms of the comments from the Have Your Say poll, a lot of you were saying that the judging this week was just off in general. So that was quite a big topic. A lot of people said Tayris's verse was the best by a mile, or I was so surprised when Tayris wasn't in the top. I loved her stage presence and verse. I also agree with that part. I do think Tayris should have been in the top. A lot of people said, how was Chai T Grande in the bottom 3? I also agree that was a little bit random to me. I thought she was really good. And then again, on like the flip side, a lot of people were saying justice for Nyan Bella, as in she should not have been in the bottom, which I also maybe would agree with. I do think Chai T Grande did not deserve to be in the bottom 3. With Nyan Bella, it would have been a discussion for me, but I don't think she was as bad as they were making out. And in general, as I said, a lot of people were saying judging was all over the place this week. Chai should have been top 3. Sally should have been in the bottom, which again was quite a big talking point. She didn't know her words, dancing was hesitant, and the judges didn't like her runway. And then this is something I mentioned earlier, but someone said, just because Break Up Bye Bye and UK Hun were massive successes, this doesn't mean the girl group challenge should become a staple of Drag Race UK. All the other seasons, including this, are quite meh. Now, this is certainly very fearless feedback, as I would call that. I will say this song was just not very good, and the queens have no control over that. Usually Drag Race UK has some very good songs, but this just did not live up to it. So I do wonder if the queens were kind of doomed from the start. But let me know in the comments what you think. What's your favourite girl group song overall? And also, do you think that the UK songs tend to be good in comparison to this week? Okay, so now we're going to move on to a little bit of potential tea to do with Michelle Visage, who may have confirmed a rumour about Drag Race. As some of you will know, it was announced a little while ago that there was going to be Drag Race Down Under versus the World and All Stars season, which Michelle would be hosting because RuPaul no longer hosts Down Under. However, soon after this news came out, multiple outlets and websites started reporting that inside sources had revealed that the season would not be filmed in New Zealand like the other Down Under seasons are, but instead it's going to be filmed in Lisbon, Portugal. It was also rumoured that the season would be starting to film sometime soon. The reason for this change is apparently Drag Race has hired a studio in Portugal because it's cheaper to film there, so they're going to film multiple seasons in this studio in Portugal, and also apparently it's easier to get visas for Portugal compared to other countries. Although these are just rumours, this does sound like it could be true, because as I've talked about in a previous video, Drag Race has done this sort of thing before. For example, Global All-Stars, as well as a few other seasons, were filmed in Colombia, and we can see that due to the credits at the end of the episodes. This again was because apparently it was cheaper to film in Colombia compared to the US, and it's also easier to get visas for the queens. But going back to this more recent rumour about Drag Race Down Under versus the World being filmed in Portugal, this seemed to be just speculation, but it appears that Michelle Visage may have accidentally or inadvertently confirmed this rumour is true. Last night, I noticed that Michelle posted an Instagram story where she tagged a photo of Quinta da Regaleira, which is a famous manor house in the town of Sintra, which is just outside Lisbon. A few hours later, she also posted another story tagging Cabo da Roca, which is a cape at the westernmost point of Portugal, which is also in the Lisbon region. And given that the rumours are that Drag Race Down Under versus the World will be filming sometime soon in Lisbon, and Michelle is clearly in Lisbon, it does look like Michelle may have inadvertently confirmed these rumours are true. However, it is also likely that Michelle posted these photos knowing that it would confirm these rumours, because the posts are still up on her Instagram, and maybe she also did it to create some buzz and interest around the season. But for the time being though, this is all just speculation. I just thought that this was interesting, so I thought I'd share it with you all, and we'll have to wait and see if any future updates come out to confirm these rumours. And finally, we're going to move on to a little bit of light tea to do with Viola revealing that she was not allowed to mention her runway reference. So, as we saw in this week's episode, Viola was criticised by the judges who did not get what her runway look was for the Cuddly-Wuddly category. Many people online after the episode posted on social media saying that this was clearly a reference to the video game Five Nights at Freddy's. In a recent exit interview that Viola did with Pink News, they asked her if this was the reference for the runway, and Viola said, quote, "Babe, that was absolutely the inspiration, hands down. And they told me that I couldn't reference it. And then we've got Tayris in her confessional saying she looks like Five Nights at Freddy's, and I'm like, I wanted to say that."
My heart breaks for Viola, but this look, it is just Five Nights at Freddy's.
That's a much easier description than, quote, "I'm a dead zombie drag queen in an animatronics costume, but then something's happened and I've been murdered, and now I'm dead and I'm a zombie," and making it look like I'm Kennedy Davenport explaining after a long night of hooking. So presumably, Viola was not allowed to mention that the reference was to Five Nights at Freddy's because it would be mentioning a trademarked brand name, which they usually avoid doing on TV. But it is interesting that they showed Tayris mentioning Five Nights at Freddy's, so either it wasn't actually an issue and maybe the producers were trying to set up some drama, or maybe they just didn't realize and it slipped through the cracks during editing. Let me know what you think in the comments. So there you go, there was the Have Your Say for RuPaul's Drag Race UK Season 7 Episode 3. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this week's girl group challenge, and was the song as good as some of the previous songs we've had on Drag Race? Also, I'd like to give a special shout out to my most recent Patreon member, Willem, who joined in the You're a Winner Baby tier. Willem, you are a winner, baby. If you'd like to get early access to my videos, priority, we're having your comment featured in the Have Your Say videos, as well as a raft of other benefits, please check out my Patreon. It's a cheap way of supporting my channel and it really does make a massive difference. So please check that out and I'll leave a link to my Patreon in the description. Also, thank you so much to all of my Patreon members. Honestly, I love having you here. It's so amazing to have your support. It is a massive lifeline for my channel. Thank you all so much. I truly appreciate you all. Please make sure you like and comment on these videos to help boost them in the algorithm and get more people's eyes on them. And as I've said, I would love to get to 150k by the end of the year, so please make sure you smash that subscribe button. It really does make a massive difference. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me in the future for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. Thank you so much. Bye!